Good evening. This is a regular meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission for June 9th, 2022. Notice has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and sending a copy to the Montclair Times, Star Ledger, and Herald News. This is a public hearing in which any members of the public are welcome to attend. The meeting agenda is available on the Montclair website, as is a link to the township's YouTube channel, where the hearing can be viewed live or after the fact. The hearing is also being televised on Channel 34. A couple announcements for the agenda tonight. Under new business, item A, application 2022-10 95 Maple Avenue is being postponed to a special meeting of the HPC on June 27th. And then item D under new business, which is a Board of Adjustment referral for application 2796 192 Bellevue Avenue, is going to be postponed to the July hearing date or perhaps the August hearing. And then that's all for the agenda, and I'll go ahead and call roll now. Ms. Bennett is excused. Mr. Heineman?
Present.
Mr. Rooney?
Here.
Mr. Reimnitz is excused. Mr. Graham?
Here.
Mr. Sweeney?
Here.
And Mr. Connolly?
Here.
And Mr. Burr, the attorney, is excused tonight as well.
Okay, thank you, Tommy. So, moving on to approval of minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes? And if so, any comments? I, of course, was not at that meeting, so I'll be abstaining.
No comments. No.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve as drafted.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Abstentions, one abstention. Okay. All right, moving on, public comment. If anybody here would like to speak on any issue concerning the HPC not already addressed in the agenda, now's your time to provide comments. You can approach the dais and introduce yourself. Seeing no members of the public for public comment, I'll close that portion of the agenda. Committee reports. Tommy, do you want to run through the committees? Oh, sorry, I missed that one. Item number 4, resolution contract authorization for Christopher P. Statile, PA, for engineering consulting services.
Do you want me to give
ahead.
a brief overview
Yes.
of what this is for? So we put out an RFP, it was maybe a month or two ago, for an engineer as a consultant to the HPC for demolition applications. And we got one response. We actually issued the RFP twice. We got a response. This was the response. We reviewed it internally with the review committee and evaluated the proposal and found that it was sufficient. So this is a resolution to basically bring them on board as needed for demolition reviews.
Thank you, Tommy. Has everybody had an opportunity to view the resolution?
Yes.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second. We'll take the roll call vote.
Mr. Heineman,
Aye.
Mr. Rooney,
Aye.
Mr. Graham,
Aye.
Mr. Sweeney.
Aye.
All right, it was, the resolution is adopted unanimously.
Thank you. So moving on, we did public comments. Item number 6, committee reports. Tommy, you just want to run through that? Typically Kathleen.
Yeah,
she
I
attends all
realized
those.
that
I don't know if there's much to
I didn't
report on.
actually, I didn't take notes on this because Kathleen normally does it, and I didn't think to do this. But there was one, I believe, since the last meeting, there was one minor applications committee meeting. in which 3 or 4 signs were approved on Bloomfield Avenue. I'm sorry, I don't have the specifics in front of me. The demolition committee is working on amendments to the demolition ordinance. Kind of internally, we're working on passing amendments back and forth and working that out, including amendments related to when the engineer comes into play and what triggers the engineer's review of a demolition application. Let's see. For grants, Connolly and Hickey has begun the commuter area survey, and they're doing field work currently. And I think that's
We had a design
that's all.
review commission, design review committee meeting.
Yeah, you guys have been busy. There was a design review, a couple of design review committee meetings. One was for Meet Me at Madison's. The address is escaping me at the moment, but there were revisions that were required as part of that approval that were conditions of approval. They submitted revised designs, which the committee reviewed. They had one additional comment, which the applicant has addressed. And then there was...
The materials downtown at the restaurant,
Yes, 11
Yeah.
South Fullerton.
Yes.
There was a review of material samples. This was the second time the committee has reviewed this. They had to submit revised samples and additional samples of things that hadn't been provided, and those samples were approved. And there was also review of lighting fixtures for 73 South Fullerton, which was a Board of Adjustment application for improvements to a church property. One of the conditions was that the HPC Design Review Committee review the lighting fixtures, and they approved those as well. And I think that's all of those applications that were reviewed.
Very good. Does anybody else want to speak to any other committees? Was there any other activity for the past month? Hearing none, we'll close that portion and move on to item number 8B, application 2022-18, 504 Bloomfield Avenue. Victor Olivetti for facade cladding. And Jerry, I believe that
I'm
you
going to
need
be
to...
abstaining on this.
Okay.
Because I have a...
Oh, Mike. There you go. No, I just started off, sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm abstaining because my client owns the building, so I can't, I won't speak to it, and
So you-
that's
Very
it.
good.
Okay, thank
Jerry,
you.
if you could just take a seat on the, off the dais, just for purposes
have
of
to
the...
get off the
Yeah, for,
dais?
just for purposes of
Whoa,
recusal,
whoa,
yeah.
okay.
It's a bit easier over Zoom, you just turn off your screen, but here in person, we've got to go through the formalities.
means walk away.
Yeah. All right. Is the applicant prepared to proceed? Come forward. As we discussed before the meeting with Jerry recusing, we are down to just 3 members, so we do not have a quorum to act on your application. So there are options. You can, since you're here, you can present to a group that is less than the full quorum, and any vote will have to wait for a full meeting. And as we said before, it would be, your option whether you want to appear to that second meeting and provide any additional statements or answer questions of the other members who would be voting on this after having reviewed the video of your testimony. So it's your option.
I'd like to speak tonight. It's my anniversary, so it may be up to my wife on come back.
Very good. So, yeah. While you are getting set up, I'll just introduce the application so that you can get right into it. So, this is an application for a certificate of approval for the Moxie Salon and Beauty Bar on 504 Bloomfield Avenue. This application proposes to apply an acrylic polymer product that resembles stucco. It's called Rollflex, and it's going to be applied to the existing cast stone surfaces on the first floor facade. This building is located in the Town Center Historic District. It is a 20th century commercial building that has been altered from its original state when it was constructed in 1927. It's categorized in the nomination report as a harmonizing but altered building, and it's, as indicated in our planning report, it has been highly altered with the application of various materials and veneers over the historic brick facade over time. The cast stone facade at the first floor was approved by the HPC on January 20, 2011. And if I can I swear you in? If you could just please state your name for the record.
My name is Victor Olivetti.
Okay. And your connection to this application, are you the owner of the building or just the business owner?
I am the business owner.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony that you're going to give this commission will be truthful and accurate to the best of your ability? Duly sworn. You can proceed with your testimony.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I am the owner of the salon, and I've been there for 8.5+ years. We're trying to recover from COVID like everybody else in the market, and we renovated the entire salon after COVID to facelift it, but we're still struggling with the storefront. As you can see in the photos, sometimes of the year it actually looks worse than others because it oxidizes the stone. The consistency is not the same all the time. It absorbs dirt. We tried several chemicals. We tried power washing, and we couldn't get it to look anything nice aesthetically in the storefront. So I'm here really requesting your approval because my understanding is that if a storefront was never painted, you have to have an approval to paint it. It never was painted, but we chose a white paint that I felt was common in the historic zone. We didn't want anything loud or fluorescent, so we just wanted to go with a basic white color with a textured finish. You know, after speaking to several painters and suppliers, we found this product to be the superior product on the market for adhesion, for durability, and long-term appearance. And there's really not too much more to my application than that. We're just asking for your vote so we could make the outside of the salon aesthetically look good, because we do have customers that constantly say to us, why does your salon look so dirty? And we've tried to clean it, but the dirt actually went into the pores of the stone. That's the problem. And there's no way of removing it. As you can see in the photo, that's what it looks like, and it does look worse on different days when it gets wet. That's it.
Thank you. Just one question. Can you just describe some of the other products that you considered before making the decision to use this particular product?
We looked at paints, different kinds of paints. What we found about this product was it has a poly in it, it's flexible, it's easy to clean, it could be recoated, and it doesn't peel. And we didn't find that. It doesn't require a primer. The adhesion, like I said, if it's clean when it's done properly, the adhesion was superior, and we certainly don't want to paint something that in a year or two we see it peeling and it looks worse than it does now. So we've seen this product 10 years. This company is 5 years short of 100 years old, and we've seen it applied in many different commercial and residential foundations and different things like that before I chose it, and it looks great. You know, years old, where we can't say that for the other products. There's no real warranty, and like I said, we don't have cracks. It's not the situation on the storefront, but it's flexible and it can move. So if you look at it, I put all the cut sheets and stuff in when I submitted my application. You can fill little cracks with it and go over it, and it will also take care of that. And being it's flexible, it won't crack like a hard type of finished concrete. Not that we have that issue. The storefront is not cracked. It's just dirty looking, and we can't get it any cleaner. And we're a beauty salon in the beauty business, and we want to look nice outside to attract new clients and keep our existing clients happy. And that's really everything I have to say. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them. Sure.
Before we get into questions, you had an opportunity to review our historic preservation consultant's report.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Steve, do you want to?
I had just a question about what you're going to cover. The cast stone, which looks like you have one course above the windows, and then you have a rough course below the windows, and it's everything in between. There is a piece of cast stone above, right below the brick. You'll leave that alone?
No, we would coat. Can I walk over there?
Yeah.
and
Right.
I think I can talk about it. It's this section here, sir.
Yes.
It also would include, there's like a little cove molding on top. It would also include this cove molding here. It would go from wherever the cast stone is, not touch the brick, but from here and all the way down to the bottom of the cast stone.
Is that a part of the original building, or is it a part of the storefront, the cove molding?
No, it's part of the storefront. This was all, as the gentleman mentioned, this was all renovated and changed, I believe, in 2011. So none of this is original down here.
Okay.
This was
That's
all
what it is.
attached to it. It was modified from its original on the first floor.
Any other questions?
And we did, I don't know if you saw a photo of it with the white, did you? I submitted them all. It does it.
You can scroll, if you go to the computer, you can go to the next page on your PDF.
Sorry. The sound. It's the roll. Okay, the picture doesn't really show you. Unfortunately, it loses the lines and the grooves, so I don't think it does a great justice for it. In the previous picture, you could see the separation between the stones,
Mhm.
and it looked much nicer than just a white wall. That was just the nearest color similar to us. Again, that's it. That does show the cove molded on top and not touching the brick. And the black we felt looks so much nicer as well with the contrast with the white.
How often does it have to be cleaned, the material? You said it's very durable, but what, how often would it be?
I think it has to do with the element of weather. We would keep it clean as needed. I'm not sure how long it would take to get dirty, but I think like any other building in town, there's a lot of white buildings I noticed, and some clean them, some don't. But our intent would be to keep it looking really nice and clean, because again, we're in the beauty business and we want to look good inside and out and portray that to us customers as well. We feel we look tired and dirty, we really do. And as you can see in the picture, that's the look. It's not something that anybody really, I think, would want on the front of a salon, or any store for that matter, any retail establishment. So.
Thank you. Mr. Connolly, do you want to speak to your findings in your report?
Sure. I only had one comment, and it's taken directly from the Township's Historic Design Guidelines. And the comment was, unpainted masonry shall remain unpainted. Do not paint masonry that has not been historically painted, and adding paint to masonry will obscure its texture, color, and detail. I did have a couple of questions for you, though, Mr. Olivetti. Have you talked to a conservator or just painters about cleaning the facade?
Conservators? No, I have not.
Yeah,
I
because
just spoke to the town, and I asked them what was required, to paint it, and they told me because it was in the historical district, and it was, at first it wasn't sure, but they said, because it was unpainted, if it was painted, you could paint it any color you
Right.
want. But because it was never painted before, you have to go in front of the board to get it approved.
yeah, you might want to talk to a conservator, because I think you could probably get that cast stone clean using different chemical-like products. But there are different sandblasting. It's not sandblasting, but there's a company called Sponge Jet. There's a system called Ibex that I've used successfully in removing deterioration from limestone and cast stone. So I think you can get this clean. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Connell?
Tom, just, so, because this is not the original stone, how does that impact the analysis of the requirement not to paint on the existing facade?
It doesn't matter, just any masonry. Painting masonry in general is just not a good idea.
It's not, okay, I see, thank you.
Whether or not it was in a historic district or not, it's just,
Or if the facade is historic or not, right?
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
okay.
Tom, can you just speak to the material of that cast stone and just a little bit more details on the cleaning process and, the fact that this was done in 2011 rather than, in much older brick, will it stand up to
Well,
harsher
once you get it
chemical cleaning?
clean, then you could probably protect the facade with another product
Okay.
that is clear. That will help maintain it, and help it from getting dirty in the future.
Mhm.
But, yeah, I would go the conservator route first, and they could test different medians to see what would work best.
Mhm.
And they may know off the top of their head what would work, but I know there's more than one way of getting it clean.
Okay.
Can I?
Sure.
Can I say? I did speak to sandblasters and several people that did different types of cleaning on it, and they told me that the regular cleaning, like the other clean, not sandblasting, this is sandblast would make a mess. You'd have to close the sidewalks down, and the other company said they can't guarantee it's just going to come out. That looked at it, and there are divots if you look closely in the shelving. The ledge there, and some spots was actually pivots inside of it where the stone actually already deteriorated a little bit, and this would fill those gaps as well to restore it to a good finish.
But you're saying the only problem would be closing the sidewalk, which I don't think would be.
Well, they said that the companies that I asked said that they couldn't guarantee, because of the penetration that was on the storefront, that would come clean when I asked them.
But they haven't tested it.
Actually, sandblast the stone?
Right.
No, they
Yeah.
have not tested it, no. They told me that they couldn't guarantee it, so with that being said, I didn't think that, I would have to test it when I see so many storefronts, different colors in Montclair. And like I said, the other thing was that this is not in any way, shape, or form original building. It was an altered building and was modified, and it didn't hold up well.
Tom, the chemicals that you mentioned to clean, would they require sandblasting, or would they be done, applied with a different method?
They're applied,
applied.
usually for a period of time, and then removed.
Yeah, you don't sandblast stone.
You don't sandblast?
No, it's not sandblasting, but have you heard of Sponge Jet? It's literally sponges that they blast
I've
at
never heard
them.
of
Yeah.
it, but, I'd like to see it work.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Any questions from you or comments?
No?
Okay. So, as we discussed, we can't
Right.
act on this at this time. So, with your consent, we would like to carry it to our, let's say our July, toll the time to act to our July meeting, but we'll try to address it at the special meeting, understanding that you might not be able to attend that meeting.
I'll try. I mean, if you want to get it over.
Exactly. But for this purposes, would you be willing to consent to a tolling of the limitations period till our July meeting? What's the date? It was the
July 14th.
July 14th.
Well, I've actually been waiting for months to get on the board, so I really didn't want to.
I understand,
I
and
wanted
we
to do
will.
something with
We
it. I
will
mean,
address
try
it
to
at our
clean it.
special meeting on the 27th. And my recommendation at that meeting, I'll poll the commissioners, and if you are unable to make that meeting, and it doesn't look like it would be approved without further questions or comments from you, I'll table it so that I can give you the opportunity to appear at the July meeting. How does that sound?
Okay.
Okay.
Guess, not that much of a choice.
Right. Very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
unfortunately, we
So-
don't have the authority to
Yeah.
act, but.
No, I understand.
yeah,
I
okay.
understand. It happens.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is tabled to our July 27th special meeting with the time to act told till the July 14th meeting.
Yeah,
And-
June 27th.
June 27th, and then the July 14th meeting. All right, so moving on to the next item in the agenda.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
New business 8C, application 554 Valley Road, Melanie R. Factor, facade cladding and window replacement. And give me one moment to pull up your application. All right, as indicated, this is 554 Valley Road. The application is for, sorry. The removal of the existing asbestos shingles from the exterior and restoration of the original wood clapboard that's beneath the structure. The property is located on the west side of Valley Road. It's improved with a 2.5-story, two-family dwelling oriented towards the front of the lot with a commercial structure located at the rear portion of the lot. 554 Valley Road is also known as the Fund House. It's considered a contributing structure to the Upper Montclair Historic Business District according to the May 2006 nomination report. The structure was also surveyed as part of the township-wide Preservation Montclair Historic Structure Survey conducted in 1982. It's identified as a vernacular Queen Anne style with a concourse rubble stone foundation. According to the survey, it was erected as one of 4 houses on land owned by Joseph Mancini. The structure is an example of early speculation housing in Upper Montclair. May I have appearances for the record?
My name is Melanie Factor.
You're the owner? Okay, and you, sir?
Craig Dixon, I'm her legal partner in business partner.
Okay, and you'll,
And fiance.
and you'll both be testifying? Oh, just
Yes, no, both of us.
both of you? Okay, if you could both raise your right hands. State your names again for the record.
Melanie Factor.
Craig Dixon.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're going to give this commission will be truthful and accurate to the best of your ability?
Yes.
All right, you're both duly sworn. You can proceed.
Okay, so I own the property located at 554 Valley Road. I've owned it since 2017. If anybody's driven by, it's a
The microphone's
dilapidated
on.
building.
Oh, your mics.
Yep.
Press the button and the green light will show. Okay.
I own the property located at 554 Valley Road. I've owned it since 2017. It's had tenants consistently the entire time I've owned it, so I was really unable to do any significant work to it. Recently, we discovered that because it's the former Fund Auto Body Shop, we discovered 3 oil tanks in the backyard, all of which were leaking. So there's a massive cleanup currently going on. I thought it was a good opportunity to kick the tenants out, legally, of course, and try and, start renovations on the building. Because of COVID, it took me longer to get the tenants out than I would have liked, but so now there's an opportunity to do some much-needed renovations to the property. So we're proposing replacing the windows with windows that look like the ones that are there, and also removing the asbestos siding and restoring the original clapboard siding that's underneath, and painting.
Anything further?
No.
Okay. We'll open it up to questions from the commissioners. And I think this was also addressed in the planning report and the preservation consultant's report, Mr. Connolly's report. But I was curious, what happened with the second floor
Tower.
balcony tower?
So I have 3 comments on that. So that was removed because the soil remediation company required it. They could not get their trucks back to the backyard. The overhang significantly overhung the driveway, and due to the extent of the remediation, which is pretty significant, not only do I have contamination on my property from my tanks, but apparently, which I'm just learning, I'm getting a lot of overflow from Bank of America, because they're still contaminated from before my time, but I guess the Exxon station.
That existed where Starbucks and the post office is
So
now.
it was a significant remediation, and they had to get large, huge trucks in there. The remediation lasted for like 25 days.
They
So-
did soil removal?
Oh, I've got groundwater contamination. I mean, now all the attorneys are dealing with Bank of America's attorneys, because we now need to dig on Bank of America's property, so it's a nightmare. But they had to get big, huge trucks in there, and I do have a letter from the tank company stating that they required it, that this wasn't, that I just decided to do it. So, just because I knew you were gonna ask that question. So that was the first thing, and then the second thing is that it was actually in disrepair because it hung so low that vehicles were hitting it. And I actually had tenants comment that someone hit it. I mean, I had tenants living on the second floor, and a vehicle, I have a commercial business in the back, would hit it, and it was just unsafe. So actually, so the contractor that took it down acknowledged that it was damaged also, so we just removed it. And then the last thing that I don't think anybody knows, but what you see in the picture that Tommy had provided, that 1982 picture, we don't believe that that is how it originally looked. So for a couple reasons. While we were looking for oil tanks, because there were so many, we just kept finding another one and another one, and they actually thought there was a 4th up at that corner of the property. So actually, if you drive by, you can see there's all stone in the back where the remediation is ongoing. But in the front, at this corner, you can also see more stone because they dug there thinking there was an oil tank there. What they actually found was an extension of the foundation of this house. And actually, the person in charge of the remediation was like, you have to come over here and see this. So what we think is that that looked very different than what you see in the 1982 picture, and that it actually extended all the way into the ground, because that rubble foundation extends several feet into the driveway, and it looks like that tower would have come down and sat where the driveway is. So, I mean, we're guessing that at some point, very early on, they added a driveway. The funds added a driveway in order to do that. they removed a portion of the building, not just this tower, because it's so messed up. The second floor, the first floor, it doesn't make sense. Things are just kind of chopped off. So it looks like they did that in order to get cars. I think there's only just,
Yeah, it wasn't built to overhang the driveway in that picture from 1982.
right.
It extended straight down, but you couldn't get vehicles back there. So they cut it off underneath the tower, underneath the turret.
And left the foundation, and
Yeah.
that's what we discovered. So, so that's my answer.
Were there any efforts to preserve the turret when it was removed? When it was taken down, was
Well,
it?
it was impossible. You couldn't get trucks, vehicles back there. If you-
No, I understand, but when they took it down, were there efforts to maintain the integrity of the turret?
It was already structurally unsound. It was damaged by being hit by trucks.
But when they took it down, did they destroy it and demolish it, or did they?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not preserved anywhere.
No.
No.
Okay.
Excuse me, do you have any plan or intent to replace a similar structure up there, maybe smaller?
So we worked with Paul Sionis. He's been doing our interior design plans. So we talked about that back in August, but the problem was there really was nothing that we could do that wouldn't make the driveway not usable. You couldn't really make it smaller. You couldn't push it in further into the house. And so we explored other options to kind of make a different, unique feature for the house, like a second floor balcony, and then just ultimately, he said, I think we all just thought it would just look better to keep it the way it is.
So is it, the architect, Paul Sionis, indicated there was nothing that could be done to
Well, I think-
replicate the appearance of the tower?
I think that what we came to was that you wouldn't have a driveway, or it would be overhanging and be hit by vehicles again. I believe that was the outcome of that discussion.
Okay, the second question is, was there anything in the tower, or was it an attic, or was it just a decorative item?
Well, again, it's really just the roof that we're talking about, because the floor is still there of this, whatever it was. So what we removed was just the pointed roof, and then the columns, which I also don't believe are original, and then it had some sort of what looked like it could be a safety, you can see it in the pictures. I mean, it was like a closet rod that was tacked up there. So again, I don't know what it used to look like, but it wasn't even attractive in its current state.
What are your plans for restoration of that roof where it was removed?
So, this wasn't in my initial application, but then Tommy had asked me a question about it, and I had said, okay, why don't we do this? I don't, yeah, I guess the proposed front view that says to address where turret was removed. Can I approach?
Yeah, absolutely.
Approach the bench.
So the idea would be that we would take this roof line and match it to the side roof so that it would be one consistent roof all the way around.
Okay.
Okay. So, if I'm looking at this correctly, what about the second floor roof up here? You know, I see that it's kind of cut off, but there was something here. Is that getting is that portion that juts out there, is
No,
that getting taken
no.
out? Okay.
I'll do
Or
whatever
the
you
roof
like,
is just
but
being
we're gonna-
extended?
No, this is gonna stay.
Okay.
And this roof, so, let me get this
Yeah.
out here, hold on.
No, I get that, but where the little turret tower sticks out, it was really integrated into the roof, so something has to go there.
Right, so,
Yeah.
so here, this roof is gonna match this roof.
Okay,
This roof's gonna match
No.
this roof, and this is just gonna stay.
I get that. But what's covering, are you just gonna put asphalt above, asphalt shingles above this here, and it'll be flat?
And it's gonna look like that.
Okay.
It's basically gonna remain the same.
Okay.
Excuse me, Ms. Factor, just one other question. You indicated the tower was not historical. That was apparently added afterwards. Do you have earlier pictures?
No, I think the tower, I think the roof was there, but my understanding, at least from speaking with everyone that I've spoken with, there was a bottom portion of this, and they chopped the bottom off.
Hmm.
So,
You can see from the picture in 1982, or recent pictures, that it overhangs about 2 or 3 feet the driveway.
and so not only did they chop the bottom part off, but they actually took part of the house off as well. And so now there's this crooked, slanted wall, so that you can put a car in the driveway.
Well, my question, do you have any pictures before 1982?
No, but I would love one.
Yeah, okay.
Would love one.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions before we move on to Mr. Connolly's report? And Mr. Connolly, do you want to ask any questions before you move into your?
Yeah, I
into your
do have
report?
questions. My question is, why are you coming before the board now for window replacement when you removed them, a really character-defining feature of the house? I mean, you should have came before the board before that was accomplished. But why now for just window replacement?
Well, that was an emergent situation. The insurance company said we had to take care of this, and we had a window with the commercial tenant in the back.
All right. Well, I think it needs to be put back because it is a character-defining feature of the Queen Anne style. Without that tower, you don't have a Queen Anne.
It didn't, well, it wasn't existing like that. They didn't build it hanging over the
Oh,
driveway.
I understand.
Yeah.
Buildings
So you want us to
change.
build another one? that
Exactly,
is-
the way it was, sure.
Well, we can't build it the way it was because we wouldn't be able to access the back.
Well, I don't know that for a fact because we don't have a site diagram.
Well, I mean, I have a letter.
We don't
from-
have all the information is what I'm trying to say.
Well, what information do you need? We have a survey, we've given you everything. If you look at the survey, it was outlined over there, and there's about a 4-foot gap or 6-foot gap between the edge of the
From the
turret.
photograph, it looks like there's plenty of room.
I mean, you can see in the 1982 photo
Right.
that cars were hitting
Yeah,
it
it was
because
damaged.
you can see the corner.
What
over-
is the height from grade to the underside of the tower?
Second floor, so it'd be
I don't,
10, 12 feet.
I don't know. But I mean, the commercial use
Cars
in
are
the
much
back
shorter
is-
than that. SUVs are much shorter
There's a
than that.
There's a
commercial
commercial,
tenant in the
DeVito
back.
Plumbing
Yeah.
has been
And-
the tenant in the back for 20 years, and his vehicles have,
And we've,
but wait, let me just say this, the 1982 photo was before DeVito, and Funds trucks were obviously hitting it because
Yeah.
there's photos of it being.
Well, maybe there's something we can do to prevent trucks
and
from hitting
there's,
it.
I mean, the contamination back there, the cost of the cleanup is $214,000 and counting right now to clean up that site. I mean, this place is a mess. And I think, you need to understand that if we didn't do anything and didn't come before the board, it would still be a contaminated site and in disrepair. So all we're trying to do is fix up the place.
For clarification, I guess maybe it's, sometimes when you're close to it, you can see it, and with the pictures, you can't. The obstruction that makes it inaccessible by trucks and others is the lower level below the columns, below that roof? Is that the area that's the that causes the obstruction? Again, I see the tower. Below that, I see some
Right, well, so that-
columns that seem to extend outside the windows.
Do you have the 1982?
And then it seems to have a roof that extends a little bit out over to the side.
Well, that picture's a little deceiving because it doesn't extend a little bit. It extended like 3 feet.
Yeah.
So it was, and I have a survey, which I could look for
Are
in
you
a
looking
second.
at this?
My only question was whether it was the lower level below the columns. That's the
Yes,
point, that's
that's
the
what was
That's
obstruction.
what was
That was
removed,
rem-
and that's
that's
where the
what was
slanted
removed.
wall is
Yeah.
Okay.
in order to give access to the garage.
Okay, thank you.
And once that was removed, there was no way to support the roof.
I'll ask one other question as to the core of what your application is now and what you came before us. Clearly had no relationship to the tower, but it had to do with the removal of the exterior siding and reestablishing with original wood clapboard. That would replicate what it looked like historically? Is that what your expectation has been? Okay.
Yes.
But you don't have any earlier pictures? And can I ask, have you looked to see if there's and where have you looked?
Let me look on the computer.
Yeah. We just tried to find it on the computer, but, I mean, apparently the town doesn't have anything either.
Okay, I would ask my fellow commissioners, there's
I was just
another
gonna ask
source
Tommy.
of...
Yeah, I was gonna ask Tommy if there's-
Another
there's-
source of pictures
Yeah.
that might help them?
There are outside sources outside of the township that we can point you to that they may have pictures. We don't have anything on file in our office because we'd only have pictures if they were part of a previous application at some point in the past, and we don't have any.
Or the public library?
The library.
has them, and also the historic Montclair has them. And has
Well,
them
if we find it
categorized.
historically, when we rebuilt it as it was, we wouldn't be able to access the garage.
Well, it would just keep getting hit by the trucks, and I have,
Well,
I had-
even if we overhung it, which was not the way it was originally
Right.
built and awkward,
But the problem is that
you
it's
wouldn't have
not.
a driveway.
So there's the driveway issue, and there's the safety issue of trucks hitting it, but you also have the issue that there's no support there. So when the contractor removed it, I mean, yes, it was still up there, but the foundation of this turret was removed, so it was just kind of hanging there. I mean, to kind of put back half of a turret, I don't know.
But, and just to reiterate what the issue is with the commission is, I understand it was altered, but the turret itself was there as original. What was altered was that first floor. The driveway is the alteration, not the turret.
Well, but the
So,
turret-
no, I
Yeah.
understand, and just let me finish. And,
Yeah.
the removal of that turret is something that should have come before, for review. We should have had engineering to look at to confirm what its condition was and whether there were any solutions to preserve or restore it and still get the functionality of that driveway. So we're in a really difficult position here because, again, what you're asking is for just replacement of the asbestos and restoration of the clapboard, which I think we're all fine with, but there's already been a major alteration, and from what I've heard, I mean, even if we got rid of it, I don't have much confidence that the building and the roof line would be restored in a cohesive way because, that turret was integrated into the roof, right?
It was.
There has to be something there to replace it in some
Well,
form or
it's a flat
fashion.
roof. It was built off of the edge, so we just completed the,
Yeah, I mean, the roof that's
slanted
current
roof,
there
it's-
is the roof that was existing. I didn't add that roof.
yeah.
This is the current condition, right now, this one?
But I mean, even looking at it,
It's hard to
looks
tell, but
incomplete.
yeah.
Well, it won't when it's completed, once the
But we don't
facade is
have
finished.
anything to see, like, we would need to see the elevations, the architectural plans.
Well, this is just exterior. We don't have an architect working on it. Because the application really is only for the painting and window replacement.
Yeah, but, I mean, there was a exterior modification, so, you know, you typically would have an architect when you're removing a major element and, you know, replacing it with
Well,
something,
is our
restoring
option
it.
to withdraw
Yeah.
the application?
That's always an option.
I mean, I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
I've had tenants renting this place, paying the rent, and it's a very rentable property. I don't need to be here, I don't need to do this, I'm not proud that I own this eyesore, especially we're local attorneys in Montclair. I don't even admit that I own it. I don't need to be here, I can, you know, I'm sprucing up the inside and I can leave it like this. I mean, this is an opportunity. I know we removed the turret, I shouldn't have. I had my insurance company, you know, hounding me. I had a tenant, you know, who didn't have access to his commercial site for a month. In hindsight,
I think we understand that. I think we understand the predicament you're in. I don't think we're trying to be combative with you. I think what we're trying to do is, and I get it. Look, I'm, you know, a small business person also. I know expenses matter. Every expense matters. I understand that. I think what we're trying to do, though, is see if there is a potential solution here. I mean, because nobody has an issue, from what I can gather, with the application currently. I think we're trying to see if there is a potential solution when it comes to the turret, and if there's something that we could do that is not overburdensome and something that could be replaced there. That's all. I think that's all we're looking to
I'd be
figure out.
happy to get a letter from
So.
Paul Sionis to say that the turret can't be put back where it is. because
Yeah.
We had that discussion.
Because, you know, this happens a lot. People do work without coming before the appropriate land use board, and what happens is a violation gets issued, and they have to come before and address it. Otherwise, it goes to municipal court, and you get assessed
And I
fines.
did
So we're
mention
trying, we want to avoid all of that, and then have, you know, a nice solution that restores the building as much as we can. But again, we need the information and the evidence
How do you say
to
there's three
support.
houses in between Bank of America and the commercial building, the office building at 546 Valley? And this roof line is in conformance with the other two.
But again, that's fair, but that would have to be something that's reviewed by the committee, and that's something, if it's an historical element of this home, to Mr. Conley's point, I mean, it's not a Queen Anne without the turret, right? So.
It's half a turret, like it's not. I
But
mean,
it still calls back to the original element, right? And the roof itself looks like it probably was original when, you know, it juts up the way it does there. So I think that, you know, we would like to see if there is a creative solution. Maybe, I don't know if it's talking to Mr. Sionis at some point, or how we do that, but that's, you know, that's my only hesitation with this application is the.
And what sort
turret.
of replacement turret would you propose? I mean, it really
The
doesn't.
problem is it's not possible, I'm telling you, I already spoke to Paul about it, it's
Well,
not
we can't
possible.
overhang it, so we would just have to build sort of a
But then there's no
miniature.
support. I already-
No, you
this-
absolutely
we-
can overhang it,
Well, we don't want to overhang it,
but you can.
but, well, then
You
it's
don't want
gonna
to because
present the same problem that we
Some
have.
trucks may not be able to get through, right?
Exactly.
Not every car, but just
Right.
some vehicles.
And it doesn't.
So
look-
is there a way we could
I
protect
mean,
it?
aesthetically, it does,
Right.
it's not.
That's a great question, but that's a good
There's-
point.
Well, we
What
would
can't get
withdraw
through,
the
what can we do to
app- I
protect?
don't think we
What
would do
can we
that.
put there? Maybe there's a way to give you even more
What
room.
is the height of the, what
Yeah.
was the height of the current?
Yeah, can we give you more room? Would that help? Like, can you
have the
build
picture
something?
from-
I do, but what's
Yeah.
the dimension from grade to the underside of the?
I mean, it looks like about 9, 10 feet.
I don't think we should be designing this for
Right.
them. I think that they should come back with a design, but I think that they can go ahead with the restoration of the siding and windows.
I don't think we're.
Well, wait, I mean, if we don't need to do that, as I
Okay.
said. I mean, we could throw a coat of paint on it and,
No, we can't, I'll just leave it.
oh, we can't throw a coat of paint on it. We can't paint it the same color?
Can we paint the
yeah.
asbestos
Okay.
siding?
I believe an alternative might be to bring back a letter from Paul Sionis as to whether there's anything that could help replicate the appearance. Alternatively, bring back pictures showing that the turret did not exist in the prior building. Again,
Well,
you
we're
know,
not suggesting that it didn't exist. We're suggesting it did, but not in its current position, overhanging the driveway.
There was no
It-
driveway.
It came down to the foundation that we found underneath the driveway.
the overhang is probably a problem with trucks, not so much with automobiles, though.
I would agree with that, it's just that it looks funny. It looked funny. I have to be honest, when the when the contractor and the insurance company and everybody was there and said, okay, this has to go, there was part of me was like, oh, okay, it looks awful anyway.
But it was a character-defining feature of the style, right? Without it.
I think it probably was in the 20s. It wasn't in the 40s when Fun built this 2,200 square foot massive cement ugly, building in the back. And chopped off the turret. I feel like it just kind of changed, Like I said, I explored putting back a unique feature. I wanted it to be something that was unique. We talked to Paul about putting a second-story balcony on there, like in the front. We had all these, but that can't be put back. It's going to be unsafe. DeVito's trucks are going to hit it. I have a commercial tenant. I don't know what to do. He's been there like 20 years.
So I think our suggestion is considering supplementing your application so that we have some more information and tabling it so that there's no decision tonight.
Would there be anything we could approve, like maybe the windows or something like that? Like, is there something that we could do, Tom?
Well, I mean,
Or
we could,
Jason?
if we're fine with the restoration,
Yeah.
I mean, we could approve it with the condition that they replace the turret, and then they're in the same position they were if they carried the application.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in terms of ordering windows and things.
Yeah,
can
because
be
then they know,
timely.
they guaranteed they can do the restoration whenever they want, and if they want to come back and say, look, we talked to Paul, we're not gonna do the turret, you come back for an amended application, and, you have Paul, tell us why it can't be done and what the alternative is to finish it, but you're already good to go on the rest of the work that you wanted to do here. So if you're gonna come back.
I'll be honest,
it's-
I don't know if I'm gonna do that work
Okay,
if this becomes,
that's fine
But
too.
that's
'cause
your prerogative.
You
at
could, yeah,
that
you could
point,
just
yeah.
withdraw it here. You can carry it and come back at another time, or.
what kind of
you could-
what is the letter that you're looking for from Paul? What would it need to say? Because this turret cannot be put back.
I think it can
Something
be.
else.
Why can it not be put back?
Because it's gonna overhang the driveway.
Okay, just like it did before.
Right, but I have
And
ongoing.
cause problems.
But I have ongoing
But-
soil
Well,
remediation.
maybe we have the wrong
But-
tenant there.
That it's
That's-
going to last for 3 to 5 years, my insurance company's saying.
But
Now-
respectfully, this might be a better conversation with the architect, because he can give, yes, the height requirements and things like that, you're not in a position to tell us because you don't have the information,
But
right?
I do
So,
have a letter from the tank company that says that they required it to be removed because they couldn't fit the excavation equipment back there, and that's still on.
That's
there.
fine, and you can
Understood.
submit that too, but from
Yeah.
a architectural engineering
Yes.
standpoint, we need something from a professional explaining why technically it can't be done.
Well,
and-
like you said, it could be done.
Okay.
I mean, it was there, it's just
Yeah.
that it's half of a turret, it's not what was original, and it's unsafe because it's being hit by vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, listen, if I could kick DeVito out, the guy's got a lease, I can't. I don't
but
know
our
what-
conversation could be with the architect, how much space do you need? Is there an alternative? Is there,
Yeah.
there are things that the architect can answer that I don't necessarily, know that you're in a position to answer for us.
And
right?
Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, the major element is the peaked roof.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's no functional space out there
No.
for people to go out there. So
No,
to the extent
no.
that peak
Well,
roof
there
could be
could
supported
be.
somehow.
No, it was a slanted roof.
Where
I'm saying there could-
overhang could be reduced, it could be put at an angle so you could really preserve that pitched roof.
Right.
Again, I'm not an architect, I'm not an engineer. I can't say one way or another if that's, feasible or not, but that's something Paul can look into. Because again, the roof is the major visual
Right,
element.
the problem is without the base, you can't have that big of a.
Yeah, I
roof
understand, but
structure.
things can be done in order to support that roof, especially if you're not, you can have it put at an angle. I mean, work with developers. They put a giant hotel over a pass station, and it's overhanging. Like there are things that can be done, and this is something that won't be as load bearing as having habitable space. But again, that's something I want to hear from Paul.
Yeah,
If
perhaps it's
technically feasible and economically feasible. We'd like to explore it.
And perhaps it's not exactly as is, but at least it calls back somehow. I mean, that's something that I think we would benefit from discussing with the architect.
And I think you made it a good point of economically feasible. I mean, we're investing a ton of money into this property.
And we understand that.
So,
Yeah.
We understand that.
To fix it up.
Yeah.
Understandable.
And we're trying to be respectful of that,
Okay.
absolutely.
But it
Yeah.
sounded like you stated that the roof profile was going to change. Right? You showed us a
Well, I only
drawing of.
suggested that in response to Tommy's question
Okay.
about it. I mean, we were just filing an application to remove the asbestos siding and paint and replace the windows, and it was in response to his question of, what are you doing about that area there that, I said, okay, well, we can't put the turret back, because I had already had that conversation, we explored it forever, but that I would, the second option from Paul was to match those roof lines. So that was our way to make it look better.
Yeah.
With
So
what we had.
I would suggest that you carry the application and see what we can get from Paul. And even if he sends us a letter saying it's not technically feasible, this is what we're going to do, and we have a better visual understanding of how that roof's going to be restored, that could satisfy the commission. But all I'm saying is, we don't have any.
No, I get that, and I mean, just so you know, we've spent, can I turn this off? We've spent $20,000 so far
Mhm.
to Paul Sionis trying to work on this design. And the the options that he gave us, I'm telling you, this looks better with what we're proposing. Because the designs that he had were dormering out the third floor and making this, it looked nothing like what this house looked like. And I know we removed the turret, I get it, I hear what you're saying, I get it, I appreciate it, we love Montclair, I don't, but the options that he gave made it look like a completely different house.
Okay.
It wasn't this house.
Well, so it sounds like Paul's done his homework. If he could just show his work, that would be fine.
All right.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
So we carry it.
We'll carry
but we
it to the
still have
next
the option
meeting.
to withdraw it between
You
the
can
next
withdraw it
meeting.
whenever you want.
Okay. And do you want to see what the other options were?
Yeah, I don't see why not. If it's already done and you're comfortable presenting it, it's your,
I mean,
it's your,
I've got-
it's your
I've got-
prerogative.
Tons of plans. I've got ones with a second-story balcony that comes over the roof. It looks nothing like what this house looks like. So all of our initial conversations were, the town was never going to approve this because you were completely changing what it looked like. And we explored trying to put something back, trying to do something, and I mean, everything just really changed the house. I mean, we had like we turned the staircase over, we bumped out in order to kind of fix that awkward thing on the second floor. Paul had the whole staircase on the inside jutting out and doing a second-story addition to, it was just like this massive, like changing of the house. So,
I think the evidence of efforts to come up with a reasonable alternative would be helpful for us
Agreed.
also.
Yeah, agreed, Jerry.
I'll bring my checkbook next time so you can see
Yeah.
what I paid for those alternate.
And you will need to update what you paid them already. so.
Yeah. All right, okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. Next application on the agenda is Board of Adjustment Referral, application 2796, 192 Bellevue Avenue, Dibada Investment. That one's carried, correct, Tommy?
Yes.
Okay, so then we're moving on to item 8E, Board of Adjustment Referral, application 2801, 214 Walnut Street, Anthony Pisa.
Hi, how are you?
Good evening. So give me one moment while I pull it up.
Yes, I'm gonna go sit back down so you can, but just use the arrows to navigate. If you're gonna be over here using the computer, use the microphone, because the recorder's gotta pick you up. So yeah, if you're gonna be over here, use that, or if you're sitting back, use those, whatever.
Hi, how are you today?
Good
How are
evening.
you?
You're Mr. Pisa?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll just go ahead and swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're going to give this commission will be truthful and accurate to the best of your ability? All right, duly sworn. You are the owner?
I'm Anthony Pisa, I'm the owner.
Okay.
Green light should be on. Yeah.
I'm the owner of the property. I'm actually a developer and builder in town. Ironically, Paul Sionis is the architect also. So back there laughing. I did go through this with Paul. We're also built, well, I'll go through that later, but what we're doing is a staircase out the back. Right now, the tenants come through the middle. I know this has nothing to do with you, but we're putting a staircase addition that it's put right in here in line. This is a bump out that's existing already, and it's put right in line on the back of the house. So once we build it, you would never even know that it was added onto there. Let me see if I can scroll down to the other ones. So here's what we're looking to do. On the left-hand side there, like I said, this here is existing. It's a bump out. It's 5 feet out. We're going to bring it across to the here. They're going to be coming up the stairs, going into the house, and going up to the second floor. That would be the entrance to the upstairs of the house. This is a side view of it. The house is currently aluminum siding. It has vinyl windows, replacement windows. It has the old storm door windows on it at this point. So how do I get to the other pictures now? Just the button?
It's the you see the tab next to there's 2 tabs open at the top there.
No, I don't know how to, this
It's your,
this one?
yes.
How would I, turn it, got it.
This was in the application packet, these photos?
This was provided by the applicant today to present to you all
Okay.
tonight.
So these were all provided today when I got my letter from the historic letter saying that they want to know the colors and everything. How would I spin this?
All the way next to the trash can icon.
Yeah.
Rotate.
This one?
Yeah. Oh, that's not it.
Rotate
Oh.
pages. Huh.
Never mind. That's a pro feature.
Okay.
Maybe go up all the way to the top left view. All the way up. File, next
You'd
file.
probably be better.
I'll be right back.
Thank you, appreciate it. Then it's going to flip the other ones the other way. I think that's the only one that might be sideways, so. Yeah, no problem. Should I wait for him? or-
That's up to you.
Oh, I'm fine. All right, so this is actually another house that Paul did that I own. It's Fullerton Street that we're building right now. The reason I put it up here, this is actually in the historic district that was approved. I bought the property, I built it. We're almost done with it, but it doesn't really show here. But this is the coloring. It's a hardy board siding, a cement board that replicates lap board. Around the windows, and all the white that you would see is an AZAC, so it would never rot. It lasts forever, supposedly. You don't have to paint it. You don't have to worry about it peeling. In here also, you see there's Anderson windows, which will be replacing the vinyl windows, replacement windows on the house with all Anderson 400 series windows. And it would actually, it goes back to the same, the coloring and everything. I mean, there's aluminum siding on there now. So it's nothing that's original from the house. There's actually insulation underneath that, because I did talk to Paul about, hey, trying to restore the house. It's impossible, the damage that's done to the original siding underneath it. So this is what we came up with. There is, to try to help with the historic look, so I don't know if you want to turn these, or these are corbels. I don't know if that give it that historic look. We would put them underneath all the soffits. We did this on a house on Highland Ave to give it that character, the historic look of the house. I think the rest of them after that should be the same. Yeah, that's fine. So we would put them around the whole outside where the soffits come around, like I said, to mimic the historic looking of the house. I guess the next one would be Anderson, the 400 series window with the trim around it. It actually has the historic sill on the bottom of it with the cap on top that mimics the old historic style of a window. This would be the lighting. There's only 2 of them on the front of the house that we would put in. There's on the porch on the front of the house. So we were asked to put somewhere for the trash to be put. The trash right now goes in between me and my neighbors. We both have the trash in there now. And we actually, this is 2 houses over. We had the fence guy over the other day. We would put a 4.5-foot fence, and actually she's going to do the same, so it would actually mimic each other in the same style that this does. So it would hide all the trash cans that go into the front. So all PVC fencing. So once again, it doesn't have to be painted. It doesn't deteriorate. Right here is just right up the street from me, a house that, 3 duplexes that was just for reference, that was just built, similar colors. That is all PVC, the vinyl plastic siding, and all the trim around it is. All the air conditioners are exposed on it, and that's on the corner of Valley and Walnut. Like I said, they just finished building it a couple of months ago. So I'm assuming that went in front of the board also. So this is directly across the street from me. I'm told I don't have to be in front of the board. I don't have to get approvals. I could build this on the outside of my house. I don't have to go in front of nobody. I go to the building department, I get a permit, and I could build this without having to go through all this. I wouldn't have to change my siding. I wouldn't have to do nothing. My thing is, this is dangerous. It would look better aesthetically the way we're doing it. Of course, it costs me a lot more, and of course, with Paul's plans, I wouldn't have to go through this. But this is, like I said, this is on Walnut Street, directly across the street from me. Not trying to say they look bad or anything, but this was approved, who knows, years ago. So we're trying to make it look, I'm trying to make it look a little better than what is existing. Once again, this is directly behind me. Same situation. That's a staircase going up to the second floor. And you can see they just covered it with wood. It almost looks like a shed back there on the top. Something we're trying to avoid, to have to go through this. The whole thing of, because I'm enclosing it, is why I have to go in front of the board, the historic, everything. But it is a safety issue, and aesthetically it looks better. And it's just in the back there, not that it matters to you, but we were going to put up trees along there, arborvitaes to cover across the back side of it. There is a perennial garden that actually it's 4 foot across the whole side of the property, from one spot all the way back to the back side. It's like 120 feet of perennial garden. And like I said, we'll put up trees in the back to block off, as you can see, the stairs in the back there, just to make it, and replant a lot of trees on the property. That's basically all I really have. Any questions? This is the cement board. It's a hardy board. They say it's a lifetime. I don't know. 20 years, I don't believe anything's a lifetime. You know, but we try to make the house as maintenance-free as possible. The AZAC, no question about it, is a better product. That'll be all the vinyl around the windows, all the trim boards and everything. It's basically going to mimic the first rendering that we looked at, just to make everything look aesthetic. And it won't rot out. That's the biggest thing. We don't have to worry about painting, peeling. This should last forever. Anyone got any questions or anything I could answer
So-
for you?
Sure. Just before we open it up to commissioner questions, just to reiterate that this is a referral to the zoning board, and our purview as the HPC is really to the elements of the addition that are visible from the public right-of-way, as
Yes.
the applicant indicated in the planning report. This addition, which triggered the variance, since you're
Yes.
expanding a pre-existing non-conformance, it's in the exterior, it's not visible to the public right-of-way, and I don't think the commission has any issues with that, but to the extent there are any questions or comments about any of the other alterations that we'd like to, pass on to the zoning board.
I would just like to say, I believe that the addition would be partially
It
visible.
would be partially visible?
Based
Okay.
on just the site visit. You'd be able to see just the side of it because it matches it goes out to the full
Gotcha.
edge of the house.
Yeah.
It would be minimally visible,
Mhm.
but partially visible.
Yeah,
which
it
is
would
why
be
it's being
beneficial.
referred.
Like if I go to my neighbors next to me on the left and I go down and I literally walk and make 2 steps and it disappears. That you wouldn't see, but you can see. It's the corner, but you would never even know it's there,
Yeah.
compared to having to put steps there, and you're definitely going to
So
notice that.
it integrates with the
Yes.
facade,
Yes.
and it avoids the issue of having those external staircases.
Exactly, yes.
Any questions?
I just want to make sure I understand the purpose. You're essentially adding a structure in the back to permit easier access to the units?
So the tenants used to come, the house was built 1890s, and it was, the tenants come through the first floor and go up the stairwell. I'm going to be living on the first floor. So I came up with, Paul, like I said, I do this for a living, an alternative, and went back and I told him what I thought, and he's like, wow, yeah, because he actually presented something, it didn't go through to the previous owner like in 2017, but it was totally like an addition out the back. And I said, you don't even have to do that, we just put this 5-foot staircase. And he said, oh, I don't think it'll work. I'm like, Paul, it'll work. I respect it, but I do this for a living. And we went through it a couple of times, and he had John come down, and we went through it, and then finally they said, oh yeah, okay, it'll work. And so now the tenants could go up their side. And and they have their own privacy from the driveway to go up. There also is a fire escape on the other side for an egress that they could get out. It's both floors. So yes, it gives them their own privacy and my own privacy.
They can still use the front stairs, too.
No, the front stairs
that
are
would
going to
be
be gone.
eliminated?
That's going to be part of my apartment now
Oh, okay.
at this time.
So this,
So as part of
Thank
this,
you.
they go from just one egress and ingress to two for emergencies?
So they'll have their own 2 private egresses, yes,
So,
exactly.
From a safety perspective, it's an
Yes,
improvement.
yeah.
Tom, any comments?
No,
Questions?
well, I did have two. I did state that the addition was located in the rear, right, which it is, of the existing structure, and which will make it minimally visible from the public right away. And it is in keeping with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation for its location, but the size of it and scale. So it does comply with the standards. But I did ask for detailed information on the type of windows and lighting and exterior materials, which I don't think were on the drawings. And I think Mr. Pisa presented those tonight, so I was happy with the type of window you had chose. That was fine. I just want to make sure that you stick with and I think this was on the drawings, that the windows will have a historic sill, right?
Yeah, it's on, that's what
It was on the
The
drawings, I
one
just wanna make
rendering I
sure.
did show, it shows a
Yep, the
historic
sill
sill.
and the head and drip cap and all that.
It's going to mimic, and this, like I said, has been approved
Yep.
a while ago. This is in the church, the historic property on Fullerton. And yes, they do have the historic sill, the cap, everything's going to mimic the historic look to it. And that's why I'm adding the corbels to try to give it more of a
Well,
definition.
that was the one thing I was concerned about, the addition of the brackets.
Okay.
I don't think we should be adding things to the building.
I'll leave them off. It's
Yeah.
cheaper for me. I'm fine with
We're
that.
saving you money. They weren't there historically, and I don't want to present a
Yeah.
false sense of history.
Okay.
They weren't there, so.
I don't know what was under there, and we actually, Paul tried to even find pictures from way back then.
Yeah, if you could find evidence that they were there,
No.
or in your work,
Doesn't, like, he tried to, and he couldn't even find them. Obviously, the way the soffits and the vinyl is, if they were there, they knocked them off, but I don't think they were either.
so there might be evidence of them there, right? So are you removing the aluminum?
Yeah,
siding?
we're gonna remove them.
So if you do find evidence of them being there, it would be great if you could put something back then.
So you'd rather not have them, or, I mean, I'm
If
just
they-
trying to
if
make
they-
it look more historical.
If you could show me that there was evidence that they were there, then go ahead and do it, but if they were not there, then no.
Okay, whatever.
So-
I get it. Like I said, it's cheaper, I don't mind.
So, any other further questions or comments before I, maybe take a stab at what we would put in our memo to the zoning board? So my thought is, I think the commission is in favor of the application. We support the grant of the variance, for the reasons that stated, it's consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards. We approve the materials and the finishes. It's an improvement in terms of the safety and use of the building. And then the one comment is when they remove the aluminum siding, if there's evidence of corbelling, maintain the corbelling. If they don't find evidence of the corbelling, eliminate it. And I think that would be it. Any other comments or concerns? If not, all right, we will close that application. And
I appreciate
good
it.
luck
Thank
on
you very
your,
much.
Variance application.
Great.
Thank you.
So do you have to vote on anything?
We
Am
don't
I
have to
done?
vote because it's just a recommendation. The zoning board's the deciding body.
So we're good as far as. the
We're good.
historics. I appreciate it, guys. You have a great night, all right?
You too.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Tommy, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So I'm going to go forward.
And that was the last item on new business. There are no other items on the agenda, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Good night. Good night.
Motion?
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good stuff, everyone.
Well handled.
Thank you.
Very quick.